Welcome, chamber music fans. Michelle Schumann here with the Austin Chamber Music Center. I'm very happy to be here with Will Feikenhorst, actually in person. All of the interviews have been done via Skype so far, so it's always good to do this in person. And Will is the second violinist with the Miro String Quartet. And I've known Will I've known of you for many years because we were in Calgary, but more recently. We actually haven't seen each other more recently, but we've communicated more recently, which is great because now we're living in the same city, so this is a good thing. So very excited about the Miro String Quartet performance on the 26th of July, and we had the Miros here, I want to say 3 years ago. That was right when they were in the transition of finding a new violinist. And I remember I interviewed with Josh, and he was telling me about the process, because it was just that summer that they were kind of looking for it. And they found you, and I know they're really, really happy to find you. And what's interesting about the festival this year is that we have 3 groups who are coming back, all with different violinists than when they were here last time. They were with the Piano Trio and the Vienna Piano Trio. And I spoke with members of those trios about the process of them finding a new violinist and how that worked out. But I thought it'd be cool to talk to you on the other end of what it's like going into a pre-established group and kind of finding your way through that.
Yeah. Well, it's always fascinating because especially in a string quartet, you really spend so much time together that those 4 individuals form very tight, very close, very personal, intimate relationships. And so when you join that family, there's a lot that you're going through because you're adapting into this already created world and trying to find the balance between things that you can adapt to and that you really feel are positive for the group with you as a member. But then you're also trying to figure out how you can find your own voice within that structure and trying to help everybody understand how that structure needs to change for you. At the same time, you think about the other 3 people in the quartet. They've just lost a very close and personal friend and colleague, and also, for the Miro Quartet, it was 15 years of trust building and of strength. And so stepping onto the concert stage as a member of a quartet that's just had a transition, all 4 members are really adapting to a lot of things. And you really start to appreciate how much the other 3 have been through and what they're trying to do in order to bring the ensemble to a new level with you inside of it.
And you probably want to preserve what is really great.
Absolutely.
Right? But you want to bring, hopefully. But you want to bring something new to it too, because you don't want to just reestablish or try to fit in. I always think it's interesting when people say, "Oh, well, you have big shoes to fill for whatever thing it is," because you don't want to fill shoes. You want new shoes. Everyone wants new shoes,
I like
right?
new shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, that's very true, and I talk personally with a lot of other quartet players as I was going through the transition, just to get their opinions on different things that I was trying to do and ways that I could approach it differently. And that's true with any situation when you step into that role, especially when it's a leadership role, which every member in a quartet is. You're learning how to lead what's best for the group and also what you feel strongly about.
Right.
And everybody is learning how you lead at the same time that you're learning how to lead that select group of people. And it has been, first of all, a fantastic 2 years. We have had so much fun, and our relationship I've appreciated so much, because the 4 of us are able to just talk very frankly, very openly with each other, but also on a level that doesn't put it into personal terms unless needed.
Right.
And that's very rare in a rehearsal situation, but then when you're looking at the career of the quartet. So it's been great.
Yeah. The pianists from the Vienna Piano Trio, when they were auditioning their new violinist.
Yeah.
Their first round was a beer drinking round. And they decided that if they couldn't have a drink with someone, they couldn't get along
That
with
was
them.
it?
Yeah,
Wow,
pretty much.
that we have since had the drinking round.
Yes, I bet.
We're actually, we eat very well.
Yeah.
We eat a lot of food.
I've heard that that's really important for ensembles, actually, to not, when you're traveling, because you can't always take in the cities and you can't always take in, everything, but to prioritize eating really well. So not being not just having sandwiches on the run or something, but that makes you feel like you're actually living life and not just being kind of cattled around.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very true. And it also, I mean, when you're on the road, you're so busy going from one scene to the next, and being able to take that time, even both separate from each other, but also we eat a lot as a group. And by that I mean a lot. A lot.
I know, you actually don't, you're a quite slim group. Actually.
Well, we all exercise quite a bit.
Okay.
But there's also a new study that'll be coming out that talks about the physical exercise of playing in a string quartet.
Cool.
And I forget, and our numbers will be blown out by Googling numbers, but your heart rate playing, for example, a Beethoven string quartet is at its peak performance. And when you think about some of these late quartets are 40 to 50 minutes or longer, it's actually quite a physical career.
That's kind of awesome. I've never thought about that, because that makes me feel better that I'm getting my heart rate up for more than 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, no, but no, we all actually we talk about it quite a bit. That we all do our best to physically exercise, to build strength, so that our bodies can handle the amount of stress that we're putting on them.
Yeah, that's great. And so you kind of make a decision together, like a lot of things. You make decisions together as the group, like a marriage.
Yeah, they are my other 3 wives.
Yes. That's great. Well, you were talking about leadership too, and I was sort of curious, and I think that our audiences would be curious to know, like, the dynamic between when you have 2 violinists in a group, because you have served as first violinist, you were with the Fry Street Quartet, but you've also been you've probably been first and second all through your career in a way. And can you tell me how those things are different in a way?
Yeah, for me it really just comes down to the role that the first violin plays in the group versus the role of the second violinist. The first violinist, of course, often has the bulk of the thematic material, or if you're in a more complicated score, is carrying the arc of the piece. And so with that, what you're normally trying to do is let the nitty-gritty, the details, and the workmanship part of the music, really trying to help the group find that in other voices, so that thematic line or the overarching line can really carry the freedom of the music. And it's not that it doesn't become workmanlike if the character demands it, but that often we want that character to be something that we're not sitting there going, boy, he's really working hard.
Right.
And whereas the second violin role really is at the, I would say most people would agree it's really the hub of the quartet, because most of the time you're not playing something alone. Usually you're paired with somebody, or you're supporting somebody's thematic line or the inner voice structure with the viola, or even with the cello. And so you really are at the center of the workman hub, and filtering things and adjusting things.
That's my dog in the background, in case any of you were wondering who's whining.
And so with that second violin, you're in a very different headspace. Both positions, I feel, are very strong in the leadership qualities.
Well, I mean, it all comes down to the music.
It
right?
does.
It's not similar to, the reason why I wanted to talk about it too is because we have this idea based on like symphonies, because the concertmaster is the king and the first violin, there's much more of a hierarchy kind of idea. But in chamber music, we really have this idea too that when the music calls for it, you're the leader, or you're the leader, or and you help each other lead.
Absolutely.
In a way, and that's kind of the magical thing about chamber music too.
Well, and I think most people would be surprised within, at least within the Miro Quartet, that most of the time it's somebody except the first violinist is leading. And that's just part of the mechanism of the quartet and how we feel the quartet functions the best. But most of the time it's a lower voice that you wouldn't even suspect because we're focused on making that thematic material or highlighting the space or the closeness of those lines together.
Well, and it sort of makes sense that that's the part that's leading, because you're sort of making those lines, the lines that are above you sort of come alive in a way. And if for instance, if that line is in the first violin and that's not happening below, he can't do
anything.
So there's some sabotage that can happen.
Oh, there's definite sabotage. There's definitely assertion of authority.
Did you know that you wanted to pursue chamber music early on, or how did that come around for you?
You know, for me, growing up in Calgary, which is where we first knew each other from, I had chamber music from when I was I think 8 or 9 years old, and I actually played viola in string quartets until I was 16, and then started playing violin, and it was something I always loved. But then I went to Rice University down in Houston for my undergraduate degree, and had during my sophomore year, Paul Katz came down, and he was the founding cellist and only cellist of the Cleveland String Quartet, who has been extremely influential to every single one of us in the quartet. And I coached a Haydn string quartet and a Beethoven string quartet with Paul that first semester, and that really did change my life. And it was that experience. It was a group of guys, one of whom, Jeff Ziegler, was the cellist of the Kronos Quartet. He just stepped down. And all of us have been very successful. The violist actually lives up in Fort Worth.
Oh, really?
And we've stayed close. And it was diving into the heart of the string quartet with Paul that really cemented my passion for it. And since then, I really dedicated myself just to finding a way to be in a string quartet.
It's interesting. I have a little bit of a similar string quartet experience, but not at all. I coached a four-hand version of the Grosse Fugue with Johnny Mann.
Bobby Mann.
Bobby Mann from the Juilliard Quartet. And it was totally, it was amazing to be like...
Oh, and he would have loved that.
Oh, yeah. It was just a thrill to be able to do that. And to actually, kind of learn a string quartet in that way with the four hands, and and it's, as you can imagine, because that piece is so grueling and everyone's on top of each other, so the hands very much. But it was Beethoven. He made the arrangement himself. So he kind of believed in it and thought it was a valid piece of music.
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny, actually just yesterday, so the Miro Quartet was the quartet in residence with the Juilliard Quartet when they were younger, and just yesterday we were looking at Bobby Mann's written out bowings for the Grosse Fugue.
No kidding.
Because we're working on this coming season will be the Beethoven cycle.
Great.
And so we were rehearsing that and actually looking at his markings, and Bobby is just he's a force of nature.
Yes, totally. Yes. No kidding.
Anyways,
that would be kind of fun programming, to actually do it for string quartet and then do it on the piano. On the piano it sounds really mashed up, even more sort of angular in that way, just because everything is so close together.
Well, and you have the one timbre of the piano,
right?
Which would be very different.
Yes.
Well, somebody should program that.
Somebody. Who could that be? Well, we are really, really looking forward to having the Miros back at the festival. It seems strange to say back because you guys are playing in Austin all the time, but But it's something exciting also in the summer for us to be able to do all these great concerts in the summertime to kind of ignite the city with chamber music, and I love having Miro's be part of that.
Well, we are thrilled to be here this summer.
Yeah. And we'll get to play. We'll get to play together. We'll get to play the Algar Piano Quintet together. Right. So that'll be tons of fun. It's such a fun piece. So it'll be great.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Michelle.
you. Thanks a lot. And bye, chamber music fans. We'll see you in a few weeks.